Big Mom's house. Big Mama's house. Welcome to Big Mama's house. Big Mama's house. Yeah. Big Mama's house. Welcome to Big Mama's house. Big Mama's house. Yeah.
Welcome back to Big Mama's house, y'all. It is I, Mama, here today to talk to you about some thoughts that I have about Welcome to Plathville. These are more my, again, non-expert psychological insights into some of these people. I don't think I'm going to cover Olivia in this episode. I'm not sure. We'll see how we get to the end. But my thoughts in general are just from the observations I've seen on the show, on their social media. Um, and I just think it's worth sharing because we see the behavior of these people and not necessarily the why of the behavior. And as any of you know who listen to our family podcast in the, down in the, um, if you go down farther down the list, you'll see the family ones. And I am always about the why. Okay, yeah, you went off or you did this or you did that, but why? There's always a why. Okay, and I think that is just as important as the behavior. Because if you don't understand the why of anything, then how do you change it? If you don't understand your um the thought process and the emotional process and all that stuff of how you're behaving and why you're behaving a certain way, you can't change it. So I think that the why is super important. I am going to start with Mariah. Um, I truly think that Mariah is an intelligent, sensitive, well-spoken, very self-aware young woman. Um, and I know everyone talks about her hair and her makeup and her clothes and blah blah blah. But here's the thing. Her all of that, the outside stuff, is camouflage. Okay? It's her armor. And when you look at what she looks like, you can pretty much tell what she is going through inside. Um, she was in a very healthy, good place, very, very happy before and during when she was dating Max. Not to bring up that asshole again, because he doesn't deserve even the 3 seconds of airtime to say his name. But it's so important to notice that after, when she felt so betrayed, which she was, he cheated on her for no reason, and um, she got very, very skinny, like very sick looking. Her hair became very brittle. Her skin looked dry. She aged overnight. It looked like from the before episode to the current episode when that happened. It's like she's a different person. And you can tell that that is coming from the inside. Her misery inside has, become part of her exterior as well. And then you can see as she starts healing from that and gets away from, at the end, eventually, Olivia and Ethan and all that stuff, and moves out on her own to become more independent. She started putting a little weight back on. Her style changed. She wasn't all black leather just because that leather, I think, is a protection. She felt very exposed, very vulnerable, very laid open to the world. Her misery was out there for everyone to comment on. And like that was her armor. And now these current episodes that we're watching, you can see she's wearing a little bit more color. She looks younger because her face is filled out again a little bit. Um, Her hair looks healthier. And it's just the fact that, she feels better on the inside so that she can change some of the armor and camouflage up on the outside, if that makes any sense to you guys. She is more than just skin deep. I'm telling you guys, there's more to Mariah than meets the eye. And I hope that gives you a little bit maybe of insight into Mariah. Then we're going to move on to Micah. Again, more than meets the eye. Micah is very intelligent. He's very emotionally honest. He is scared of being hurt based on the relationships he's seen around him lately. Um, but he's very what's the word? He's very almost pragmatic when it comes to love. He's open to dating, wants to have fun, meet more new people, all that good stuff. And he's like so smart. He's like, in my world, even though I don't really totally agree with it, dating is you date to get married. And that is what he's looking for. So he gives a girl 3 or 4 dates. And if it's not, ringing with him, if they're not compatible, then that's it. Because why lead a person on? Why waste both of your time if it's not gonna lead to anything? Some people are like, well, you date just to date. It's fun, whatever, just to get experience. But that's not his worldview. You know what I mean? Like, he tries very hard to like not make himself the center of every situation, which is very uncommon for their family. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about. He's just very he tries to be honest with people, but he also knows how to be um I'm trying to think of the word, guys. He tries to be very politically correct about it. He's very careful. He doesn't want to hurt anyone. He is a very, very sweet man. Um, I think his entire thing in life is to just be honest, have fun, um, do as much as he can and meet as many people as he can, and but he does want love. He wants that forever, love, that, like me and Papa have. It's changed over the years. Surely it's grown and changed like we have. But he wants that. And I don't blame him. I think almost everyone in the world, you know, unless you're like a romantic or whatever, would, they want someone to be there, to be their person. And he wants that for sure, but he's being very, again, he's very emotionally intelligent. He understands that you have to talk to people, get their side of the story before you make knee-jerk reactions or snap judgments about things, because he knows that if you talk to someone, there's usually a why. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? There's a why. There's always a why. And communication and talking to other people, you can find that stuff out and lead to better understanding, more compassion, more empathy. And I think that that is something that we could definitely use more of in the world. But he's also not um opposed to like, hey, if you're toxic in my life and you've brought nothing but drama or hurt to my life, then I don't need you in it. He can understand you. He doesn't have to say anything bad about you. He's not that kind of petty, like I'm kind of petty, but um he doesn't have to go down that route, because he's just like, okay, it is what it is. You are who you are. We're not gonna be a good healthy relationship with each other, so we just need to not have one. And that's okay too, to have those boundaries of, I need to have this time for myself. And the same thing with Mariah. If you need a boundary of no contact for a while to get your own mental health, your own emotional health, maybe even your own physical health under, control before you interact with those situations, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It leads to less lashing out, it leads to less misunderstandings and more hurt. And it allows you to actually understand the situation and put it in more in perspective than just, again, just that knee jerk, I'm hurt and I'm gonna lash out and everyone's gonna hear about it. They're both they don't neither one of them do that. And I think that's very, very intelligent and mature of them. And I'm not saying that they don't have bad things. We've all got flaws. Okay. Every single one of you, whether you want to believe it or not, and I know some of you are like me, you're like, okay, yeah, we're all screwed up and it's fine. But if you're not aware that you also have flaws and that, maybe you aren't 100% perfect, we should let these kids, I mean, yes, they're adults, but they are very young adults, find their way. They from the last few years that they've been through to now, I think they're managing exceptionally well. Like, I don't know if I would have been half as like well-rounded and like normal as these guys are. It's I don't know. I think I would have been a little out there. Okay. Now I want to talk about a little bit about Kim and Olivia. Okay, and this is the only part of I'm not talking about Olivia's herself, and like I'm breaking down each of these things like in a more mental psychological way, but Olivia would be her own freaking episode, so no. But Olivia and Kim are both very stubborn, strong-willed, judgmental princesses, but they're also buttheads. Okay, they just are. Kim, okay, we're talking about Kim over before the show. Okay, the Kim we never knew. Okay, before the show where she was used to making 1,000 decisions a day and being the daily authority with the kids in the kingdom that she and Barry created. And then suddenly the cameras start rolling, Olivia's more involved, and now they're being questioned on their parenting and they're not being listened to. And that, even a year before this would have been shocking and shut down, and it wouldn't have happened because this was their kingdom and they ran it the way they choose, and that's fine. My little crappy tiny home with all of us in it is my kingdom. I am the queen, Papa is the king, and then we have, various sundry other, royal in the house. So it doesn't matter. We all do it together, but this is still my home. My name's on it at the end of the day. I'm financially responsible for it. So I feel a greater responsibility. You know what I mean? So it's like I have to keep everything in my kingdom running well, including the people in it. And that's a lot of responsibility. I do it for 3 people. I have no clue how I would do if I added another, 7. I would lose my mind, I think. Because it's a lot. And it just seems like it would take more than that first episode, or that first season even, to adjust to this new way of life, you know? Because it's very different than the last 20 years have been. Think about it, 20 years. I know you're old enough here. Again, I know most of our listeners are between the ages of 35 and 55, and you're female. So, for the majority of you listening, what would you do if for the last 20 years you ran your family a certain way, everyone was fine with it, it was good, it was working, and then your oldest child got married and chaos ensued? Imagine what it would be like for you. That's all I'm saying. Just put yourself in that position for just a second. Um, it would take a minute to adjust all that, I would think. And I think it would also cause fear. Fear for the children who are going out in the world and, afraid for what they might end up having to go through. Fear for your other children because you don't want them to be living this life that you don't think is correct. We all have our vision of what that might be. For them being out in the world with all the dangers of today, I mean, that could be just as scary as being afraid of a home invasion, or being afraid of your child being kidnapped, or afraid of your child being shot in their classroom, or at church, or a mall, or a movie theater. Everyone has fears, whether they are legitimate, whether they are rational, it doesn't matter. Those are our fears as parents. And as parents, we do our best to protect our children in the best way we know how. Was their way correct? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I think the kids are all pretty darn well-rounded. And once they go out and they want to, experience more of the world, they're adults and they have that foundation of family and faith, or whatever you want to call it, to fall back on in case things go bad. But the fear that parents have also creates a need for control. Think about it. When you get really scared, you're not like, "Hey, everybody, go do what you want. It's all good. It's fine. I'm terrified over here for everybody and everyone about everything." But you go out in the world and just do you, and just let me know how it goes, okay? Yeah, I don't think that's how humanity works. That's not how human nature works. And my thing is that Kim is also very immature, and she is just as stunted in her mental, emotional, like whatever growth as the kids. Because whenever she chose to marry Barry, and he had a idea of what he wanted his family to look like, and she was like, "Sure, I know that my childhood was terrible, you know. My mom and dad were drunks, and then they left, and it was just me and my mom, and she was still a drunk, and it was kind of, not a good place. And then I was molested as a child, and all this other stuff. And then when she was a little bit older in the teenager years, she started drinking and partying, and assuming that including sex. And who knows? I mean, all those things lead up to when you meet someone and you decide, oh yeah, we're gonna have a family, but I don't want these bad things that happen to me to happen to my kids. So what do we do? And they came up with a plan. Was there a plan? Again, 25 years ago, this plan wasn't that kind of quote crazy. A lot of people were like more into like the homesteading, being more independent and less dependent on stuff outside, being brought in. And there's nothing wrong with that. You want to live out on a farm, people did it for hundreds of years until, society took over every corner of our planet. But I just find that it's so interesting that everyone hates Kim, but has no compassion for her history at all and the way she was trying to do right by her kids. Again, it was maybe a little bit not the right way to be thinking, but again, Barry had issues with an alcoholic parent, and usually when alcohol is involved, especially back in the 50s and the 60s, whenever he was a kid, corporal punishment was a big thing, and I'm sure that had something to do with it. So again, they did what they had to do, and according to them. And right or wrong, I don't know. But even the oldest kids has come out and said, I may not agree with everything about my childhood, but I had a great childhood. And then to me, that says a lot. You're so angry over your upbringing, but you now can appreciate it. That sounds a little strange, but okay. Anyway, and my thing is, Olivia feels so much pride in the fact that her family changed because of her, that's according to what she said. But she has a deep fear of losing control. Again, fear breeds a need to feel in control, and on and on. So that is a vicious cycle. Olivia needs to feel in control of the people around her so that she never feels like she is the one being overlooked. Is because she's always top dog, number one. Everyone needs her for something. Because as I've said in many, many, many episodes, Olivia offers to do things for people instead of teaching them how to do it for themselves. Because that way she's needed, right? She's still top dog. Everybody goes to her for stuff, and it makes her feel important. It makes her feel needed. It makes her feel validated. And again, I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. I'm just saying, I see you, Olivia. I see it. And it's okay. But you need some therapy. They all need therapy, let's be real. But Olivia especially needs to deal with her need for control and to be controlling, especially with her husband. And, maybe if you didn't have such a, chokehold of like the choke leash on your husband, he wouldn't be pulling away so desperately hard. Maybe if you let go a little and just let him be himself, he would come to you, but he is not the kind of person that is going to need anyone to depend on. He was the oldest child. He knows how to get shit done. He's used to being in charge. And the fact that you turn him into a child who has to ask permission to do everything, it's no wonder he's miserable and why he's lashing out at Mariah. I'm just saying. Okay, now we're gonna go on to Kim and Barry. Kim and Barry truly believed in how they lived. They were very hurt when their kids left after pouring half of their lives into them. Well, Kim did. Barry worked. He came home, maybe had some chats with the kids or whatever, hung out. But he was never a real hands-on, super hands-on dad. He felt that the child rearing was Kim's responsibility, unless maybe it came to like punishment or something. Maybe then he was the disciplinarian. I'm not sure. But they did try to accept Micah and Mariah more to avoid the same thing that happened with Ethan. But the damage was done. And especially when you're young and you have an older person that you look up to, and have like a hero worship for, like they did with Olivia, um, it's they just make it worse, and their intent is to pull the children away from the parents and replace that role to be the parent. And so again, so that she's needed and it makes her feel validated. Um, but honestly, they seem to be trying to make efforts to change for the younger kids because they see that their older kids are very unhappy, and at least they are trying to make some changes. And to me, that any kind of trying and making efforts matters to me. No one's going to get it right on the first time, especially if you're changing the way you've been living for 25 years or whatever. Um, but every small steps matter, as long as they keep going in the right direction. That's my opinion. Um, Barry is the only one who has kept up with the real world. I mean, okay, we're talking about before the show, okay? And he is the only one who is allowed in the real world. But the kids blame Kim. Barry was out in the world. He had like, what, a 40-minute drive to work every day or something like that, or an hour. He had time to listen to the radio, talk news and whatever stuff, keep, the current news of the day, current music, all that stuff that, everyone takes for granted. And Kim didn't have that. The kids didn't have that. Like, whenever Kim's, like, what was it, the beginning of season 5, and they were doing the music for their little dancing or whatever, and she said there's like 20 years of music to catch up on. Hello. She didn't hear any of that crap either. Only Barry did. Only Barry. So he knew what the world was like, and he just hoarded all that for himself instead of like sharing little bits of it with his family. I'm sure you could have found, some kind of secular music that wasn't, dirty so that your kids could listen to it. Like something. I'm sure there's some sort of movies out there that your kids can see that isn't going to like taint them against God. You know what I mean? It's like, I think he liked being the only one with that knowledge and that power because Barry to me screams, again, power hungry. He wanted to be the king of his little kingdom, go to work, come home, have the house and kids taken care of, and he just had to pay the bills. Easy peasy, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that a single person providing for up to 12 people is easy. It was a lot easier back in the 80s and 90s. Just saying. Um, this is very much my opinion. This is all speculation, but I have reason for thinking it. I think that Barry is very different behind closed doors. Um, the boys especially seem afraid of him at times. And no one dared defy him until the cameras were rolling, because none of them did. If you think about it, none of them did. They all obeyed Barry. And like when when Micah and Mariah first came to visit after leaving, and Mariah was like laying on the doorbell for a joke, and Isaac came running to the door and said, "Stop, Dad's mad. Oh my God, don't do that. Who did that?" And as soon as Barry came to the door, going to, who's being not rude or whatever, Ethan immediately went, "Oh, me." And I'm like, you're a grown man. Why don't you just laugh it off and be like, sorry, Dad, whatever. Isaac and Ethan seemed afraid. Now, I don't know about Micah, because again, Micah is very controlled. He holds his stuff real close to the vest. And I don't know about him, but other boys seem almost afraid of Barry at times. And it just, that bothers me. And the other thing is when they were having their last argument in the driveway at the new house, and about whether or not the kids could come say goodbye to Olivia before they moved to Florida. And Barry was like, "Oh, well, let's just go stand at the end of the driveway and say hi to Olivia." And Ethan's reaction was always a bit odd to me. The way he like stormed over and got in front of Barry and grabbed his arm and said, "No, you're not." And I'm just like, that was a really strong reaction for telling someone that they can't go at their own property. That's, I mean, the whole thing was just very odd. Um, I, again, this is all speculation. It's only my opinion based on what we've seen. But it's like Ethan and Isaac, especially, are very careful to never really upset Barry. And I don't get it. I don't get it. Um, it's strange. Just a food for thought, y'all. Okay, now we're on to the PH to resistance. Sorry, Sabine. This is all about Ethan Plath. Okay. Ethan was under a lot of pressure being the oldest. He's very smart, but he was never really given the emotional, especially, or mental skills to understand or deal with his feelings, his or other people's feelings, like any feelings. He just doesn't get them. And maybe that is because Barry's the same exact way. And I don't know if that is exactly a taught behavior or if that is just a part of their personality. Because some people just don't feel feelings the exact same way or understand. Like, I know that a lot of times they say that autism is something that where you don't really understand other people's feelings or how to deal with your own or understand your own feelings. So I'm not sure if therapy would help with that. Because him and Barry definitely have a bit of I don't want to say odd, but like not quite normal, like personality wise. No, they don't really grasp feelings or seem to care about other people's feelings. And to me, that kind of screams, I don't know, almost, I'm not going to say that. Anyway, it just seems a little scary. They don't understand feelings. And Ethan was totally ready for freedom whenever he was turned 18, but I felt that the easiest way to get it was as a married man, which was fine with him because he was really truly in love with Olivia, and he always has been. Um, that was not the same for her. She just wanted out of her daddy's house. That was it. She wanted freedom, and he was her ticket. But Ethan was all in. He bought them a house. He bought her a baby grand piano. He got us a job. He was ready to settle down. And this is pretty typical of oldest children with many younger siblings. I was the same way. Well, especially with my childhood, it forced me to grow up really fast. And then it's how I ended up marrying the first boy that ever paid me any attention. And I got pregnant when I was 17. You know, children who don't get um I don't know. My childhood was different. I wish that I could sit down with Ethan one on one as friends and be like, "Hey man, tell me what's up so I understand." So I'm not quite so harsh on you. Like I understand that some things I say are kind of harsh. But again, when you only get a part of the picture and no one's willing to tell you anything extra, what do they expect you to think? You know what I mean? Um, but he said they had pretty much a magical time the first 6 months of their marriage. Lots of sex. That was his best part. And everything was new and exciting to him. He didn't see how far ahead of him Olivia was and how much further she wanted to go. Everything was innocent and quote moral. He only drank soda, a little bit of alcohol, watched TV and movies, music, etc. And all that awesome sex was inside a marriage. So nothing really that is immoral, nothing that is like really, really like bad. But over the next year or so, the more Olivia isolated him, the more withdrawn and quiet he became, the more sad and angry. Um, and then he reverted back to his childhood solution, which was to lie and be deceptive about what he's been doing when he knows he's breaking the quote rules. And he shuts down communication because there's secrets to keep. And also, there's no trust. There's no trust to be loved and accepted as an equal partner, especially about his grief over losing his whole family. Like, who's he going to talk to? the person that caused it, the reason that he walked away from his family, because he was, quote, sticking up for and standing by and defending his wife, whenever she was in the wrong. He had nowhere to go with his grief. He had no one to talk to, because obviously she was not going to be as sympathetic to him over his sadness, because she would probably be like, well, why are you worried about them? Why they did wrong to me? Remember, you're supposed to be sticking up for me. You're not being loyal to me, and blah 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 blah. Because that's Olivia, and he had nowhere to go. And I know that now, especially, you can tell it in this last episode, y'all. If you listen to it, I got very angry with him, and I'm still very angry with him. But I'm trying to be, fair, because he has turned himself into a complete asshole. But I know he's tired of everything being an argument. He is an adult. He makes his own money, and she's acting like his mother. Maybe if you were happy for him ever, Olivia, he would tell you stuff. He kept compromising his beliefs to make her happy, but never got any compromises back. And it's not a crime to fall out of love or to have love not be enough, especially if only one of them loves the other. Because let's be real, Olivia's been using him for several years now. She doesn't want to be married to him. She wants to do her own thing. She wants to be free. She wants to do everything she wants to do without having to have anyone tell her she's wrong about it. Or not maybe wrong, maybe he doesn't quite agree. But we all know that Olivia, if you don't agree 100% with what she says and does, you're against her. That period. That's how she is. And that's not okay either. He has to have some autonomy and some freedom in the relationship to tell you how he truly feels without being shamed for it. And let's be real, Ethan, he's a small town guy who is a little goofy. He's very intelligent, sweet, loyal, and he's not bad looking, I mean, I think the right girl will bring out the real Ethan, and his communication issues will disappear after that trust is there. That is my thought on it. I think he hides and lies because he is trying to put off the argument for as long as possible. And she does not see that she is creating that environment, that unsafe environment, so that he can't be honest. He can't be an adult and have any autonomy. And that's not okay. So, and don't get me wrong, y'all. Please don't come for me. This is not in any way, shape, or form excusing anyone else's bad behavior. They are all making mistakes. I am just saying these are my thoughts, some insights into these guys as people, as a family, and it's a lot when you have this many personalities and differences. There's going to be some conflict in a family. That's just how it is. But they should all have enough respect for each other to talk about any grievances in a calm, mature way, as calmly as possible in some situations. And, just let each other be, and let each other make mistakes, and let each other not be perfect. Because let me tell you, if I didn't let people not be perfect, there would not be a single person in my life, including myself. You know what I mean? It's like to expect perfection and other people not to make mistakes, especially when they're this young. Okay? The oldest of them is 24. Okay? These are babies, in my opinion. My children, or one of my children, is older than that. And I'm sorry, you guys. I kind of got off on a tangent here. But these are my insights into the family. I'm sure I've missed a bunch, but these are just the ones that I thought to write down and tell you guys what I think is going on and why there are so many issues. And maybe it might give you some insight and maybe help you not hate Kim so much, because I know the internet is split 50-50, whether you hate Kim or love her, or hate Olivia or love her. You're either a Kim fan or an Olivia fan. I mean, Olivia, I think I have such strong feelings about her because I've known several people like her in my life. And it is always chaos. It is always negativity 100% of the time. And again, if you have any differing opinions or thoughts about what the other person is thinking, you're bad, you're shameful, you don't love me, you don't respect me, you're against me. And I don't have any patience for that shit at all. And so I apologize. I'm not trying to hate on Olivia. I don't think any of these people are bad people. Um, but I think all of them need a lot of therapy with a legit licensed, psychologist or whatever, or someone that, isn't just a counselor, not just some whoever. You need someone that's going to take it, like, you need individual counseling, couples counseling, family counseling, because you need to understand each other in order to, like, even try to make your family better. And I think that of everyone, Micah is the number one person who is the healthiest. You know, I think Mariah is kind of a close second, only because again, she's willing to reach out and admit she's wrong, to say she's sorry, to be the bigger person and swallow her pride, even if she doesn't necessarily think she's wrong. She's willing to, like, try to make amends. You know what I mean? Right now, Ethan has none of that. He only cares about his brothers. He talks a lot of crap about loving his siblings and whatever. But when it comes to his sisters, he talks a lot, but has no real action. And to me, when you are all talk and no action, you're just full of shit. That's my hard learned belief. Okay. I learned it the hard way. So again, when people tell you who they are, you should believe them. So, okay, that's the end of my soapbox for today, y'all. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sorry if I made anyone mad. Please, if you have a disagreeing theory or feelings about it, um, please let me know. But just be kind and respectful about it, because, we're all here just, we're fans, all of us. Whether you're more fan of one person or another, doesn't matter. We're all fans of the show. So, until next time, you guys, please wear your seatbelts. Be safe out there. Please use your turn signals. And for Papa, please work your yard. um, Please spay and neuter your pets. There are so many pets. We're overpopulated with the strays out there, guys. Please, if you have cats that aren't spayed, bring them inside. Don't leave them outside to populate the world, please. And above all, you guys, we are all human. We are all just trying to do our best in this crazy little marble as we spin through space. And we do the best we can. And so until next time, you guys, be kind, especially in real life and on the internet. I know it's easy to be so mean and say awful things, but remember, you don't know what someone's going through. You don't see the whole picture, and you only see a snippet. So be kind. If you see someone out there today, say a nice thing. Open a door for someone. Hold the elevator, whatever. Just do a kindness today and give someone a compliment, just give a smile, whatever. Just make someone else's day a little better, and it will make your day better too, I promise. All right, guys, until next time, bye.